large require a lot of collaboration, a lot of teamwork. This mural wasn't just a collaboration between Rita and our mural artist David Guinn. It was also a collaboration between many community partners. The Charlottesville Mural Project wanted a way to feature visual artists as well as poets and musicians, so they teamed up with New City Arts to produce a series of text-based murals in the Charlottesville area. The first of those we completed at Charlottesville High School. The second is in the Crozet area, and this is the third. It's called Paint and Poetry Seville. Murals, much like this one, are also site-specific. Really good murals take into account the wall they're on, where they're located, who sees them, how they see them. So given the proximity of this mural to UVA, being located on the UVA corner where so many students spend time, we felt like it was really important to feature a university poet, which brings us to Rita Dove. Rita Dove has been a UVA English professor for 27 years. She's a Pulitzer Prize-winning poet. She has been the Poet Laureate of Virginia and the Poet Laureate of the United States. And she holds 25 honorary doctorates, which is amazing. Her most recent work is a collection of poems from 1974 to 2004 and includes 30 years of her published work. We're also incredibly lucky in Charlottesville to call her a local poet. I want to share briefly how fun it was to work with Rita on this mural. I actually met Rita only a month and a half ago when the mural started, even though we had emailed leading up to the project. And Ross hosted a really small backyard party for Rita and David and a handful of community partners, like no more than 15 friends and artists in the community. It was like very low-key. So before this event, I had given myself like a pep talk about sort of playing it cool, you know, with Rita. And when I arrived, I didn't, because when you Google Rita's name, you know, like researching this project ahead of time, the first images to appear are with her and the president. She has a lot of firsts on her resume, so she was the UVA English department's first female African-American full professor 27 years ago. She was the first African-American Poet Laureate of the United States, and she is the only poet with both the National Humanities Medal and the National Medal of Arts. Yeah. So, rather than playing it cool, I started asking a bunch of very oddly specific questions about what it was like to be Poet Laureate of the United States. You know, like, how did you find out you were a Poet Laureate? Like, did they call you? Did they like email you? Did they send you a letter? Where were you? Were you on vacation? Were you in your office? You know, what did you wear to state dinners? Like, where did you go shopping? Did you go to Belk? I asked her like where they chose she would be seated at state dinners and what they ate. If she got an office, which she did in the Library of Congress. I was like, well, how did you get to your office? Like, did you take the elevator? Did you take the stairs? So Rita graciously and generously entertained this ridiculous line of questioning. And like a small group of people kind of gathered around her to eavesdrop on these stories where she told us about meeting presidents. She told us about exploring the Library of Congress after hours because she writes best from midnight to 5 a.m. She told us about meeting her husband Fred, how they love ballroom dancing, that she's fluent in German, that she's afraid of heights. She does sometimes shop at Belk. So I'm telling you this story because when Ross and I reached out to Rita to participate in this project, we obviously had no idea what it was like to be the Poet Laureate of the United States, so we assumed that she just had like a really busy schedule and that she was going to give us permission to use the poem, which would be amazing. That was our hope, and that we would be able to feature her in this project. But way more than that, Rita has been like all in. So her and David Guinn met a year ago to have dinner and really talk about the design of the mural. She came to our like weird backyard low-key party. A month and a half ago when the mural started, she showed up. She's been on site every week, learning about the technical aspects of mural painting. She overcame her fear of heights and went up 7 stories on the swing stage to paint the W.
Which
She mentioned the mural in her UVA commencement speech back in May at UVA. And she actually also painted some of the text on the south-facing side of the mural that we'll see when her and David go to sign the project. So the mural has been a truly collaborative process, and we are so excited for Rita's enthusiasm, her time, her commitment, and investment in this project. People love her work so much that many people have impromptu put her work to song. She's also collaborated with composer John Williams and director Steven Spielberg to sort of animate her poems. But we think that this is the first time one of her poems has been put to large-scale public painting, and we're very excited to be a part of that. So as UVA alumni, I am honored to introduce Charlottesville poet and UVA English professor Rita Dove.
Thank you. Marina's right. This is the first time that I've ever seen my words read that large. And it's a bit daunting, but it's also very humbling because I feel that poetry belongs in the streets and that there's no reason for any poem or any work of art, for that matter, to be confined and put away in some place where only the elite can find it. Poetry is for the people, art is for the people, and so when I was approached by Ross and the Charlottesville Mural Project to consider this collaboration, I thought that it would be a marvelous thing to have happen. Now when I met David, and David it's an amazing job. I mean, it's really just an incredible piece of work. And when I met David and we talked about putting words up there, I gathered a few poems to send him. This poem, I hoped he would choose. And I left it up to him because he is, of course, the artist, and he's the one who would know best what words would fit in a space like this. And he's such a fabulous muralist. He would also be able to consider the locality and where it was. And I hoped he picked this one for many reasons. I think one of the main reasons is I think it applies to all of us at some point in our life. We hit a point where a door opens, or you see a door slammed in your face, or you've got to make a door. But it's a moment when your life stands before you and you say, oh, I've got to step up my game. This is the moment that I need to address. And I thought, what would be more appropriate for the corner and for the side of the Graduate Hotel than something like that? Not only for University of Virginia students, but for anyone who's walking down that street, walking with Mr. Jefferson's academical village behind them, and walking toward what we call the real world, where everyone works and strives. So when David said this is the one I think should go up on the wall, I knew we were right. We were just right in sync, and from that point on, it's been pure joy. I have had very little to do with this. I mean, I did paint one W. I mean, come on. But I really relish the chance to be able to feel what it is like to be up on that swing stage. And David was wonderful. I don't think I'll ever do it again, but thank you so much for getting me up there. I feel that when I look up at it, the words don't seem to be mine, and that's the best thing that can happen, I think, to any artist, to feel that your work is no longer yours, it belongs to everybody else. And so I want to thank you for coming today, and I want to thank the Graduate Hotels who had the vision to embrace such a major project, because it is absolutely major, it is visionary. I thank David, I thank all of you. I just give you my heart, and I thank you for treating it so well. So I'll leave you with, I'm going to read the poem so that you also can hear it in the air. But I would say that sometimes when I drive by, and I drive by on this road all the time, and the light's always green, so I can never stop and look at the mirror.
We can work on that.
I can't believe I'm cursing the green light, but it feels a little like, you know, you're walking through your everyday life, it feels a little like a flash mob, a visual flash mob, to see the mural come by, you know, and to have it pop up. And I think that David's conception, the idea that the one line of the poem is there and then the poem appears later, also carries on that feeling of being, in a very gentle way, ambushed by art. So I thank you all. Let me read the poem for you, and then I'm going to turn it back over to someone. Ross, I guess. Testimonial. Back when the earth was new and heaven just a whisper, back when the names of things hadn't had time to stick, back when the smallest breezes melted summer into autumn, when all the poplars quivered sweetly and rank and file, the world called and I answered. Each glance ignited to a gaze. I caught my breath and called that life, swooned between spoonfuls of lemon sorbet. I was pirouette and flourish, I was filigree and flame. How could I count my blessings when I didn't know their names? Back when everything was still to come, luck leaked out everywhere. I gave my promise to the world, and the world followed me here. Thank you all.
I can't tell you the number of times I've read the poem to myself in my mind. It has never sounded that good. So next up, I get to introduce Ross McDermott with the Charlottesville Mural Project. Ross was the first phone call to us at Graduate about this project. And quite frankly, he was calling about a much smaller wall around the corner, which is still available to local artists for muraling. But together we definitely dreamt bigger and went for the largest wall on our entire building. So he was really the one that had the vision for this and started to bring all the pieces together. So thank you, Ross, and happy to turn it over to you.
Hello everyone, thanks for coming out today. I'm going to keep my remarks pretty short, but I do have a lot of people to thank because I deal with all the logistics, which involves many wonderful people, and so I have to say my thanks to all of them. This is actually the last mural that I'm going to be producing. We have a new director, and the mural project is in wonderful hands with Greg Kelly. But I can say that even though this is my last, it's been my most rewarding, mostly because of the two artists that I was able to work with for almost a year. Rita and David, I really couldn't have picked out more talented, creative, generous, patient artists, and also just two artists that gelled in this really magical way. So that's been a reward, and I thank you, Rita, and I thank you, David, for working with us and sticking with us through the tough times. I have to thank also the Graduate Hotel, to David, to Julie, just for, as Rita said, believing in this vision. You know, there's not a lot of businesses that I think would say, yes, we want a mural, but you guys go for it, you know? And really that's how it was. There wasn't a lot of oversight, and we had amazing freedom in that, and so it really made our job easier, and I think the work resulted in a really beautiful and unique piece. So thank you to Graduate Hotels, thank you to the staff, to Yolanda, for putting up with us. As you can imagine, with a hotel open 24/7, there was a lot of juggling about how to get David up there, how to have power installed, how to have the swing stages operating every day, the scaffolding crews installing and deinstalling, and so everyone at the Graduate had to do a lot of extra work, and we appreciate their patience with us. I also have to thank the building owner, Mr. Robin Lee, who gave us permission to get on his roof and build scaffolding on his roof. That took some time and patience on his part, so thank you, Mr. Lee. I also have to thank our longtime sponsor of the Charlottesville Mural Project, which is the fund at the Charlottesville Area Community Foundation. They are our #1 donor and supporter, and without their support, we would not be able to do what we do. So we thank you for your support. Also, we have some great sponsors that we work with. We've been working with for 5 years, and they're so great. Most of them are out here in the audience today because they love to see what we do and they love to support our work. So we thank you to Blue. And David has done, I would guess, like 10 to 15 murals maybe in the city of Philadelphia, but also he's produced over 35 murals around the world. He's a graduate of Columbia University, where he started studying architecture, and most recently he was the recipient of the Knight Foundation Art Prize in 2013. You know, I'm trying to think of a good metaphor for like what our relationship has been like, but it's funny to like start with a phone call, you know, hey, you want to come do a mural in Charlottesville? And then to feel like, you know, a year and a half later, you're kind of like a college roommate almost with this person. So I can really say, I can attest that not only is David a great artist, but he's a wonderful guy. He's really wonderful. And I think the staff of the Graduate can attest that he's, you know, was just so friendly throughout this process. Everyone he meets, he makes sure that they like him. And he's just generous in all of his actions every day, not only when it comes to painting the murals. So I've had the pleasure of working with David and the honor, really. So David Guinn, everyone.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Ross. Thank you, Rita. Thank you, Maureen. And thank you, David. And thank you, everyone who's here. It's been an amazing process working here, working with everyone, and making this mural. Like Ross said, when he called me a year and a half ago and said, hey, do you want to come to Charlottesville? It's great to get a call like that. But then when I saw the wall and when I heard about the project and working with Rita Dove, I thought this is amazing. To be here next to, on the corner next to UVA grounds and up on the swing stages, which you've heard about, which are really kind of amazing devices. These funny little elevators that raise and lower you on cables up and down the building and which blow in the wind and truly are not for everyone. It took a long time for me to get used to them. And to be up there and look out and see the rotunda and look out over all of Charlottesville, it's just an amazing space. And to consider the responsibility of making a work of art in that space that will contribute to that space and affect that space was a lot to bear and a lot to contend with. You know, I think it was really, as Rita said, it was really shaped by working with Rita on this project, and just an amazing experience. Rita, you were so warm and open with me, and it was far more than I could have hoped for. Your poem, the poem Testimonial, as you all heard, I immediately had a feeling, and it was a feeling I'd experienced in my life at the graduating from college, of this moment in time when we're beginning our lives. And the optimism and the joy and the hope that comes with that. The poem begins back when the world was new. And to me that evoked this moment, this elemental time. A time of very simple things. Shapes, simple shapes, colors. And so I wanted to create something in an abstract language that evoked that time before things had a chance to differentiate themselves into the complicated world that we live in today. I wanted this abstract landscape to convey the joy and the optimism in Rita's poem, and it was very important, as has been mentioned, that the mural function on a number of levels. That at a distance, when you're on the grounds and you're looking, that you could see the wall, you could see the, and I'm very grateful for that, for the freedom, because it's that freedom that releases the best work. There's so many. It's been amazing living and working here in Charlottesville. To make sure that enough.
Yeah.